Good afternoon, 271. It's Captain Roberts, your company commander. Today we're going to do our annual refresher training on SHARP. Before we start, just want to let you know that some of these things we talk about may make you feel uncomfortable. You may have some past events that may invoke some strong emotions and thoughts. So just be prepared before we start talking about this difficult subject. Why we fight. You know, that this is one of the biggest things in the Army that we're fighting right now, because sexual harassment and sexual assault are absolutely against our Army values and everything that we stand for in this military. So we take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and with that are those values. So that is why we fight. The terminal learning objective, the action to demonstrate behavior consistent with the Army's sexual harassment assault response and prevention program. Conditions: given a classroom environment with facilitated group discussions, which here is going to be virtual, student handouts, and optional scenarios involving sexual harassment and sexual assault in accordance with the Army SHARP policy and in compliance with the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Core competencies. The standards: the students will complete SHARP annual refresher training contributing to building unit readiness. Students will have met the standard when they demonstrate behavior consistent with the Army SHARP program by participating in the following activities without error. Describe the impact of sexual harassment and sexual assault on the Army National Guard. Discuss prevention practices in the bystander intervention process. Discuss sexual harassment. Discuss sexual assault. Discuss sexual assault victims' rights, confidentiality, expedited transfer, protective orders, and special victims counsel. Define the Army's policy on retaliation. What is the difference between restricted and unrestricted reports of sexual assault? Here we go. We're going to talk through this real quick, and I know this can be confusing and sometimes not real clear, so we're going to take our time to read through these slides. We have the restricted report. We'll start on your left. The restricted report benefits: access to medical, advocacy, legal, and counseling services, receive the sexual assault forensic exam, the SAFE kit, control the release of personal information, can change to unrestricted report at any time, special victims counsel, the catch program eligibility. The limitations: the alleged offender will not be held accountable. That's to be very clear with the restricted report. Ineligible for expedited transfer or reassignment. No command support, because the command will not know, and cannot receive a protective order. So real quick with the catch program, from what I understand, it's a database that they put these soldiers that these perpetrators into, so that if there's other soldiers that file complaints, they can start to see trends and catch these soldiers doing that. Unrestricted report: the benefits: access to medical, advocacy, legal, and counseling services. Receive the SAFE. Alleged offender may be held accountable. The command will know, and they will be there to support you. Can receive protective order, military protective order, or civilian protective order, and special victims counsel. Some limitations here, and a lot of the reasons why soldiers choose not to do unrestricted reporting is because more people will know about the sexual assault. Investigation may require discussion of personal matters. It cannot change back to a restricted report once you go to an unrestricted. A restricted report: who can accept this report? The sexual response coordinator, the SHARP, the SHARP victim advocate, the healthcare professional. Limitations here: chaplains and special victims counsel cannot file a report, but information shared remains confidential. Unrestricted report, however, who can accept this report is the commander, the JAG, the IG, the SARC, the VA, healthcare personnel. Limitations: more people will know about the sexual assault. Investigations may require discussion of personal matters. Cannot change to a restricted report. If the victim's chain of command has knowledge of the sexual assault, the option for a restricted report is no longer available, and a commander is required to take action. Here are some of the benefits that you may get from a restricted or unrestricted report. As you can see, even with restricted reporting, there are quite a bit of resources available to you if you need it. Give you a second to look over this slide. A lot of the same things we've already talked about in the previous slides. Expedited transfer request. Sexual assault victims who file an unrestricted report can request an expedited transfer request outside of the unit. This transfer or reassignment may be to another unit or location, a different unit on the installation, another company within the same battalion, same brigade, or state for us in Oklahoma National Guard. It must be done on a 4187, and we have 72 hours to approve this request and recommend approval or disapproval. I can tell you that if you feel like you need to leave and you're not comfortable in this unit, I will 100% support that. Here's the stats that are not really good for us right now, but one positive from these numbers are that soldiers are reporting now more than ever. The days of things happening and it being swept under the rug are over. I feel there's been a lot of negative kickback and things that have happened to leadership just recently. I'm sure some of you are very aware of the CBS report that came out. There's no more hiding. Social media has changed the game in some ways in a very positive way, and this is one of those areas, I believe. So even though these numbers are high and they're trending upwards, they're just beginning to uncover the problem and get to a point that we can start to address it and fix it. So the prevention, it really just starts with the individual. This slide right here just conveys all to me, the spheres of influence and how much you are vital to solving this problem. By living the Army values, by intervening when you see something, say something. Your peers, friends, and family, they can help with these, enforce the Army values. Battle buddies are there to help you. When they see something, they say something. They pull you out of that situation. Just be that sounding board to help you out. And then unit organization, that's very much an important aspect of this, to have a positive command environment, to know that when you say something that your commander or floor sergeant or any person in leadership will say something. But not only that, the soldiers themselves, like your battle buddies, your left and right lieutenants, even soldiers you may not talk to on a daily basis, just to know that they're going to say something or you're going to say something for them, that we all have each other's back. And have pride in that this is my squad. Nothing's bad is going to happen to them. The community, the support and services in the Oklahoma National Guard are awesome. They're out there. Military One Source is a great resource. And just know that whenever this would happen, if it did, and hopefully it never will to any of you, that we will 100% back you with every resource that we have. So moving on to the next slide. This is how the impacts on readiness, and this is a continuum, as you can see, from green to red. It's the ideal. We have engaged leadership. We obviously live the Army values, good order and discipline, ethical standards, accountability. Just the things that when you think of the Army, this is what we are. This is how we keep a good, positive, professional work environment. Live the warrior ethos. Some of the early signs of sexual assault and sexual harassment begin very subtle and very, oh, I don't think that's any big deal. They're my buddy, they're my friend, but that's not necessarily the case, because it escalates from there and it can become worse, especially if alcohol is involved. Inappropriate jokes and comments, those don't happen here. We do not do that. So if you see somebody, tell them to stop. Be that intervention. Start there. This definitely can escalate into more obvious sexual harassment type of things, like catcalls, sexual innuendos. This isn't the place for that. This is not a dating service or site, or a place to go and find your next, husband or wife. Like, this is where we are professionals. We come here to train and to get better and to fight the nation's fight. So Sexually oriented cadences, obviously, I think we all know that that's not anything anymore, and that would be immediately stopped. But you can just see how this kind of cascades down with sending inappropriate messages that are not solicited, that are not wanted by the opposite sex, just are seeing things or showing things that may be offensive. So, and then ultimately, this could lead to rape, abusive sexual contact, unwanted, no means no kind of thing, 100%. So, move on to the next slide. What you and others can do. Treat everyone with respect. Achieve consent. That is critical here. That if you do decide to do that, and it's legal, and it meets the Army policies and our ethos, that it is consent. So without that, you have nothing. Communicate your boundaries. Talk. Tell the other person how you feel, what you think, and make that very clear. Drink responsibly. Again, goes down to really just don't get with somebody else and you start drinking and get yourself into a situation that you're not comfortable with. Battle buddies. Being very clear with your communication on what your intent is. Those are all critical things here. But I want to be very clear with all these things that I'm saying, that it is not, no matter what it happens, whether it's about dress or drinking or what you're saying or how you're acting or if you're flirting, it's never the victim's fault. So it's 100% on the perpetrator. So until they have 100% consent and they've met all the other checks there, it's not right. So, and the biggest thing here, especially in the military, intervene. If you see something, do something. Don't just look away. Don't worry that you're not going to be cool or friends with those people anymore. You're not going to be invited to Chick-fil-A on a drill weekend or whatever it might be. See something, say something. I don't care what rank it is. And if you don't feel comfortable, then pull somebody aside that you know would be okay saying something to somebody. Come to me. Pull me in my office. We'll close the door. You tell me, and I'll play that that game of like it's all me. Like I will be the one to intervene and say something. So even if you don't feel comfortable, but say something to at least somebody. Is really what I'm getting at. So we all have a role in preventing sexual harassment and sexual assault. So. Barriers to intervention, I think I kind of alluded to some of these things already when I was talking, but rank, status, position, class, don't want to be embarrassed. No one else is doing anything. That's it happens a lot where there's something happening wrong and nobody else is doing anything. You don't want to be that person to stick out and to ruin the party or be the dud. The fear of retaliation, because whoever may be doing this may have higher rank, may be in a position of influence, maybe a well-respected member of the unit that everybody thinks is a rock star. So you yourself fear retaliation. Legal consequences. You may not be doing something yourself right at the time, and you may be caught up in that. Personality, communication differences, impact on a career. A lot of these things are things we've already talked about. Perceptions, responses of peers, co-workers. These are things that are natural barriers that we all face at every rank. I know myself, I feel these things sometimes too. So, but that in your heart, in your soul, if you know it's wrong, say something or find somebody that will. So, the bystander intervention 3Ds. You are the change agent that can advance their program by intervening using the 3Ds. Sorry, I had a hard time reading that because it's in red. Direct. Address the perpetrator. Remove either party from the situation, hostile environment, potential victim or perpetrator. Have personal courage to intervene. Distract. Anything that distracts the perpetrator. Change the subject. Ask either person to go do something. Or say, I think someone is coming. Delegate. Delegate the intervention to others. Have friends, squad members, or co-workers take either person out of the situation. Send someone to help to intervene. Chain of command, MPs, etc. Again, I think these are some of the things we already talked about, but it doesn't hurt to keep talking about them. So bystander intervention process. Notice the event. Interpret the event as a problem. Accept personal responsibility for doing something. decide how to intervene. And the biggest thing here, whatever you do, just take action. And take action in a safe way, obviously. Don't want to put yourself or others in harm. So if you don't feel comfortable, get others that around you that are capable, or call the police at the end of the day if it really doesn't feel like a safe situation. So now, all right, we're going to skip through this because we don't have this. Here's some questions that we'll have small group discussion with your platoon sergeants or squad leaders. All right, now we're going to talk about sexual harassment, conduct that involves unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and deliberate or repeated offensive comments or gestures of a sexual nature when submission to such a conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term or condition of a person's job, pay, or career. Submission to or rejection of such conduct by a person is used as a basis for career or employment decisions affecting that person, or such conduct has the purpose of effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment, and is so severe or pervasive that a reasonable person would perceive, and the victim does perceive, the environment as hostile or offensive. Any use or condemnation by any person in a supervisory or command position of any form of sexual behavior to control, influence, or affect the career, pay, or job of a member of the armed forces or civilian employee of the Department of Defense. Any deliberate, repeated, unwelcome verbal comments or gestures of a sexual nature by any member of the armed forces or civilian employee of the Department of Defense. So as you can see, the definition there is pretty broad, but things I take away from there, it's all about the perception. It's what the victim perceives. So if they tell you to stop, then stop. That's really the way I take it from that. The Army policy on sexual harassment: unacceptable, will not be tolerated. Zero tolerance policy. I can tell you that myself, before I was a company commander, I was an S1, but I also was a unit victim advocate at least since 2011. So I've been through many hours of training on sexual assault and sexual harassment. So it is near and dear to my heart, and it is 100% a no tolerance policy. So if you say something to me, there will be action, because it destroys what we are. It destroys the teamwork. It negatively affects combat readiness, and it's just wrong. You know, we all need to feel inclusive and welcome here. Army leadership must create an environment conducive for productivity and respect, set the standard to the soldiers and civilians to follow. A successful mission is achieved in an environment free of sexual harassment. Prevention is responsibility of every soldier and Army civilian. So I look at each of you to help prevent this type of behavior in this unit. Army policy on sexual harassment. Army National Guard soldiers, a policy applies on and off the installation 24/7. Complainants are encouraged to confront subject offenders. Tell them that you're not comfortable. Tell them that you don't like the joke or the pictures or whatever it is. They just tell them that you're uncomfortable. Our Army policy does not require complainants of a sexual harassment to confront the subject offender. So if you don't feel comfortable, have a buddy go say something to him, or have a supervisor, chain of command. At the end of the day, just say something to somebody so that we can help squash this type of behavior in this unit. File formal complaints with the brigade level SEAM, EOL, or higher. Family members 18 and over are eligible to file complaints with the SARC. All right. Army civilians, Army National Guard soldiers in Title 32 status. Army civilians and Guard members have the right to pursue administrative remedies through the equal opportunity complaint process. Army civilian complainants have the right to sue. Although Army policy does not require complaints of sexual harassment to confront the subject offender, complainants are highly encouraged to do so. Civilians and service members are protected from retaliation for their EEO activity under federal law. Types of sexual harassment: quid pro quo and hostile environment. Quid pro quo is demanding sexual favors in exchange for a promotion, award, or a preferred assignment. Disciplining or relieving a subordinate who refuses sexual advances. Threatening a poor job evaluation for refusing sexual advances. Incidents of quid pro quo sexual harassment may also have a harassing effect on third persons. So indirectly, it may affect, not even indirectly, I would say directly, this affects more than just third, fourth, fifth person. It's a It is a unit destroying event here, in any shape, way, or form. Quid pro quo or hostile work environment, or whatever it is. Once we don't feel comfortable around each other, we've lost the battle. Hostile environment, using derogatory gender-based terms, making comments about body parts, displaying sexually suggestive pictures, telling sexually explicit jokes, unwanted touching. Again, just keep reiterating a lot of the same things. They cross over each other, but anything that just makes somebody feel uncomfortable, how that person perceives it, that is really the fight we're fighting here. It's all about perception. So keep those jokes, keep those pictures, whatever that might be, keep them at home. This is a professional environment. This is not the place for it. And honestly, these same values and thoughts here probably should pertain in your personal life as well. Just make us better, more decent humans. The categories of sexual harassment, I'm going to not talk specifically about each one of these. I mean, I think they're pretty clear here. But verbal, just telling jokes, making suggestive comments, and some nonverbal categories of sexual harassment, staring at someone, undressing them, sending unsolicited pictures of yourself or letters, just making or posting or sending unwanted sexually oriented types of social media posts, physical contact, which I don't even know how this is sexual harassment. Just almost, in my opinion, any type of unwanted touching should almost be sexual assault. But touching, patting, pinching, or bumping or grabbing, cornering or blocking in a passenger's way, provoking unsolicited back or neck rubs, and then kissing, obviously. Those are all things that really, for any of us with any bit of common sense, should know that those aren't right. Those are not accepted here at all. I honestly don't. It doesn't even matter if it's wanted. You're not going to do it here. You're not going to do it in this environment. We're professionals. We're here to do our jobs, and that's it, and go home. So, anyway, reporting options in the military: anonymous. You can report it and request anonymity, so that is an option for you. Informal, direct approach, confront the harasser, like we talked about earlier. Just tell them stop. Email them or text them. Just say, hey, I don't feel comfortable. Don't send me these pictures. I don't like it. That is an option, and that's it's not. You don't have to do that, but it is a recommended option for the National Guard soldiers. And then also ask somebody else to do that, to say that and work on your behalf and be that advocate for you, and that's okay too. I promise you, I don't mind being that advocate. And I happen to be the company commander now, so you can tell me, and I have that authority to go and change any of that behavior in a direct or indirect way. I don't care what the rank is around me; it will be changed. So, formal, filed in formal writing, filed in writing using NGB Form 333. I will be notified at that point. Hopefully, this doesn't ever get this far. And then we have a lot of advocates here, a lot of see something, say something soldiers that will stop this way before this ever became an issue and we need to become a formal complaint. You have 60 days to file a formal complaint, so it's a quick turn on sexual harassment. But I really hope that we never get this far and that we create a positive environment of doers and people that aren't afraid to say something. So if we don't do that here, then I have failed, and I don't need to be your commander, to be honest. So formal reports of sexual harassment may be raised to command or EEO personnel. Must contact the EEO also within 45 calendar days of becoming aware of the sexual harassment or initiate the complaint process. Command supervisor notification does not count towards the 45-day limit. Potential consequences for sexual harassment in the military. There's reduction. There's a lot of administrative options here. UCMJ or OCMJ Title 44 would apply here. Bottom line here is that we're going to come after you. If you do this or have this behavior, there's going to be no tolerance, and everything and anything that I can do as a company commander is going to be done. I can tell you that with the battalion commander and battalion sergeant major, that's going to be the same. We're not going to see what we can do. We're going to see what's the maximum, and that's it. There's not going to be another option. I don't care what your rank or your behavior was before. Once this is being sexual harassment or sexual assault, we're coming after you. So there's no tolerance here. period. Potential consequences for sexual harassment. Army civilian, which really doesn't apply, so to us right now, so I'm gonna push right through this. But again, I will say this with National Guard soldiers, that you do face the civilian side of this as well. So it's not just the OCMJ part. We can also come after you with the police and legal side that way. So. All right, so we're going to skip through this because we don't have the trifold in front of us, but this is going to be part of the group discussion, the small group discussion questions. So now we're going to talk about the definition of consent. Definition of consent means a freely given agreement to the conduct at issue by a competent person. Sorry, I can't talk. An expression of lack of consent through words or conduct means there is no consent. It needs to be explicit. It needs to be 100% yes, by a person who's competent, who's able. Lack of verbal or physical resistance or submission resulting from the use of force, threat, or force or placing another person in fear does not constitute consent. Again, yes. A current or previous dating or social or sexual relationship by itself or the manner of distress of the person involved was accused in the conduct of issue does not constitute consent. Again, yes. All the surrounding circumstances are to be considered in determining whether a person gave consent. Really, a bottom line, it comes down, were they competent, and did they say yes, and was it explicit? If it does not meet that criteria, then it's no. That's it. There's no other way for me to read that on this consent. What is sexual assault? It is a crime. Again, we will come after you with everything the Oklahoma National Guard does or has. We also come after you with the civilian side as well. And even if the civilian side doesn't pursue charges, we can, on the Oklahoma National Guard side, pursue charges. Sexual assault is defined as intentional contact characterized by the use of force, threats, intimidation, or abuse of authority, or when the victim does not or cannot consent. The term includes a broad category of sexual offenses of the following specific UCMJ offenses: rape, sexual assault, aggravated sexual contact, abusive sexual contact, or attempts to commit these offenses. Army policy on sexual assault. Sexual assault is a criminal offense. Sexual assault degrades mission readiness. Every soldier who is aware of sexual assault should immediately, within 24 hours, report incidents. Sorry about that. My phone rang in the middle of that, kind of cut this off, so I'm going to break this up into 2 videos. But I'll go ahead and start where I stopped. Every soldier who is aware of sexual assault should immediately, within 24 hours, report incidents. Sexual assault is punishable under laws, UCMJ, federal, state laws. Those who commit sexual assault offenses will be held accountable, period. There's no debate about that. All victims of sexual assault will be treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. This applies both on and off duty 24/7. Potential consequences for sexual assault. I'm gonna let you read over this. I'm not gonna read every single line here. You can kind of look at this. But bottom line with what I've said several times at this briefing is that whatever the best or highest option for us in the military to get you, we're gonna do it. That's it. There's not gonna be what we can do to slap you on the wrist. There's none of that anymore. So it's 100% the maximum punishment for this crime. So I'm gonna switch over real quick and talk about the catch program, which I had talked about earlier for a little bit. But really, it's just a database to help track and catch predators, so that these repeated crimes that happen may not continue, and that we may be able to see trends and catch these soldiers before they continue to victimize other soldiers. You can anonymously disclose this information, as you can see. So that's one huge benefit of the catch program. And then you can also decide to do after a match, you can decide to do a restricted or unrestricted reporting at that time. So there's definitely some huge perks and benefits to this that I really like. To just know that you're not alone, that there's another resource and system out there to help protect you, take care of you. Whether it may be too late. You may have already been a victim of this soldier, but it may help the next soldier. So that's really the biggest thing here. But this applies only to restricted reporting. So, all right, skip through this. trifold. The definition of retaliation. Any person's UCMG Article 132 defines retaliation as any person subject to UCMJ who, with the intent to retaliate against any person, or making or planning or reporting or planning to report a criminal offense, or making or planning to make a protected communication, or with the intent to discourage any person from reporting a criminal offense, or making or planning to make a protected communication. 1. Wrongfully takes or threatens to take an adverse personal action against any person, or 2. Wrongfully withholds or threatens to withhold a favorable personal action with respect to any person, shall be punished as a court-martial may direct. So basically what this outlines, and I probably should have summarized this before I read all that jumbo, but that you can't hold it, what you're doing, nobody can hold that against you. There's not, retaliation will not be tolerated, period. So, and you will face consequences in any position that you do retaliate against somebody for doing something or saying something. So, I don't know, I feel like I kind of jumbled it up, but anyway, if you have protected communication rights, those will be protected. That's all I gotta really say there. So, elements of retaliation: ostracism, defined as excluding from social acceptance, privilege, or friendship a victim or other member of the armed forces because the individual reported a criminal offense. The individual was believed to have reported a criminal offense, and the ostracism was motivated by the intent to discourage reporting of criminal offenses or otherwise discourage the due administration of justice. And acts of cruelty, oppression, and maltreatment committed against a victim, an alleged victim, or another member of the armed forces by peers or other persons because the individual reported a criminal offense or was believed to have reported a criminal offense. So really, it just comes back to, if somebody thinks you did something, that you reported it, and then they retaliate against you, then we can hold them responsible and legally liable from our side. So just bottom line, it won't happen. Not here. Army policies: no soldier may retaliate against a victim, an alleged victim, or another member. All full reports of retaliatory behavior must be investigated. We don't have an option there, so it's pretty clear there. Allegations of retaliation will be investigated by the IG. In accordance with the Army directive, allegations of retaliation against a victim, witness, sergeant, or VAs, or first runner should be referred to as a battalion or higher commander to develop a plan to immediately address the issue and forward the plan to the SARB chair. Service members may request a review from a general or flag officer if they experience retaliation. Sexual assault victims have the right to communicate with the GFO if they believe there were impacts to their military career because they reported a sexual assault. Call to action. Really, this is towards the end of the slides here, but this is and obviously our state's not in here, but we are professionals, guided in everything we do by the Army ethics. We are certified and bonded with other Army professionals through a shared identity and serve a culture of trust. So I really don't feel like I had to really read that, and I did, but it's really, why do we do what we do? What makes this special? What makes this different than a lot of the things that we do in the civilian side or anywhere else, really, even with family, is that we have that shared bond and that shared trust. And if we don't have that, then we are really nothing, and we're probably worse in a lot of ways because we are required to work off of those. We don't have time when things are happening and when we need others to step up and do something. We don't have time to go double check them. We have to be able to trust each other. Like that without that, we have nothing. So, and one of the quickest and ways and most detrimental things to the military here is sexual assault and sexual harassment. And that will destroy the cohesiveness of the unit faster than any other thing that you could probably do. There's a lot of things that we could do right, wrong, or indifferent in the military to each other, and in time probably forgive each other. But this is not one of those things. I cannot forgive any of you for sexual assault to another soldier. I mean, that is a 100% end game for me. So, and I will do everything within my power to come after you or that perpetrator, if you're that, whatever that is, if you have committed any type of sexual assault to any soldier, really any or civilian, we're done. So anyway, just treat everybody with dignity and respect. It just kind of comes down to, you know, the core values, even as being a human, not just necessarily the military. Then also let's intervene, direct, distract, and delegate. That's it. Just see something, say something. Don't be that bystander. You know, there's a reason why you wear the uniform. There's something in you that has that call to duty somewhere, that you know what right looks like, what needs to be done. So you're already different than most in the world just by putting on this uniform. So, you know, have that personal courage. Just do something. Here's some resources for you. Military One Source is great. DoD helpline is great. Safe helpline. But if you really just need any type of resource or more information, just email me, call me. We'll work through that. If you are interested in the future of becoming a future unit victim advocate, because we always need victim advocates. If you want to go to the 2-week course and get that training and then keep your CEUs up, just let me know. I'm always looking for the soldiers that want to do that. So can't ever have enough unit victim advocates. So it's excellent training, and it only makes you a better person all around, even on the civilian side, personal side. So. All right, Army National Guard's referrals to civilian and military resources. You know, this is just another pretty graph. Just talks about all the resources that soldiers use, and you know, victim advocate is definitely the highest there. Mental health resources there. So the resources are there, but I will tell you that they are definitely underutilized, and the trend isn't necessarily positive here, and it has gone up and a little bit down. So even as the sexual assaults and crimes go up, so got to make sure that you know that there are resources and help there, and it can be anonymous. It doesn't have to be with me, but just say something to somebody. Also, next slide is a reminder: if you need help, this 24/7 helpline, 343-7260. That's a local number, but also there's a DoD safe helpline. The resources are there for you, I promise. We will walk this road together. We'll walk this walk together until we get to the end, and whatever that is. And there may never be an end, but at least we'll start walking that direction, trying to get there together. So anyway, it's an honor to be your commander. I really do appreciate you all watching this and listening to me. But just know that there's zero tolerance, and I will not accept any type of sexual assault and harassment in this unit. Thank you.